I just posted on YouTube every single day for 150 days straight. My watch time went up over 1,000%. My subscribers increased by over 2,000%. Some of my videos reached 14,000 views, while others reached 30 views. This is exactly what I learned. On February 3rd, 2026, I told myself that I was going to do something differently. I embarked on a 100-day challenge where I was going to post one long-form video every single day on YouTube. Now, I have to be honest with you, this was probably one of the most difficult things I have ever done. I can agree that I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about my audience. I learned so much about my content style. However, it was difficult because there were no excuses, there were no breaks. Yesterday was 150 days. Today is 151. And I'm going to be sharing with you today and break down exactly what happened, the numbers, what worked, what flopped, and honestly, what I would do differently if I had to start all over again. All right, so let's go ahead and break down the numbers. So like I mentioned, yesterday was day 150, today, July 4th, making it 151. That is 150 videos that I have posted. Can we just take a moment? That is insane. I would have never thought that I would have posted a video every single day for 150 days. So let me go ahead and tell you the numbers, all right? I gained over 2,450 watch hours. Now, some people might look at that and say, wow, that's a lot of watch hours. Honestly, I have to admit, I thought I would be a lot further, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. I also got 101,000 views and I added 1,110 new subscribers. Now, compared to the 150 days prior I started this challenge, my watch time increased by over 1,000%, as well as my subscriber growth grew over 2,000%. So I can say this, volume does matter, okay? But not probably in the way that you think. All right, so what worked? Now, all my top performing posts, now that I looked back at it, I can tell you that they all had something specific in common, okay? They were all personal. So let me go ahead and share with you the titles. My video, I started over at 44. Here's how I paid off 4 debts and saved $10,000. That video got over 14,000 views. It was because there was money transparency and I was sharing very personal information about how much that I owe and how many debts have I already paid off and what I have left. Now, my video that was titled 44 years old, started over, made $8,396 in 1 month. That video got over 11,000 views. Now, I remember that was one of the first videos that really took off over 10K. And I think that it was the money transparency. I showed my 7 income streams and the amount of money that I made in each income stream that month. And I'm telling you, that video alone brought in over 700 watch hours. So there was something specific about that video that I definitely am looking forward to replicate soon, because I realized that most people want to know exactly how you're making your money and how. All right. So finally, the other video, Starting Late Doesn't Stop Generational Wealth. That video got over 8,600 views. And that video was pretty much me talking about, listen, I plan to retire at the age of 54. Starting late doesn't stop you from creating generational wealth. You just have to have a plan. And I shared my plan. And again, it was very personal. It was transparent. And I feel that all 3 of those videos were very personal. It gave viewers an insight into my life and what's currently going on and my plan in order to move forward to create generational wealth, to pay off my debts, and to make money every single month. Now, my audience, I'm realizing they don't really care for motivation. They want the real. They want the real. They want the proof that it's possible for them as well. And I think that's the key, at least for me moving forward, is that if they are starting over, especially later in life, they really want the roadmap. They're like, Dupay, show us exactly how you did it so we can do it too. Now let's go ahead and talk about what flopped. Honestly, the videos that flopped were some of my favorite videos, and I'm still kind of shocked. So anything that had to do with productivity, if I'm talking about my morning routine or how I set up my business or even tools that I use in my business, unless those business tools are directly related to YouTube. There was a video that I posted about how I edit my videos using CapCut. That video got hundreds of views. It wasn't in the thousands, but it was a lot more views than the average videos in this arena. So most of these videos, they reached 30 views, 50 views. They didn't cross over that threshold of over 100 views. And to be honest, I get it because it's not really, helping someone figure out how they can get out of debt or build wealth. But honestly, I believe that sharing transparency across all areas of your life is very important, because if I only show my highlight reels, what's the things that are growing in my business and the things that are actually working in my life and how much money I make and all the wins, then I don't think that it's being really honest. So I think for me, I do like the diversification of my content, and I'm okay with some of these videos not performing, because I know for me, it helps when I create content in all areas of my life rather than just focusing on one area. And like I mentioned, I put a lot of effort into these videos. It wasn't like, I didn't put as much effort as the ones that took off. It was the same effort. It was the same time. But then that reminded me of something. There is something called the 80-20 rule in action, okay? 20% of my videos drove 80% of the results. 20% of my videos drove 80% of the results. So when I look at those watch time hours, they literally came from my 4 outlier videos. Isn't that insane? And all the rest are just chilling. The rest of the videos are just chilling, like y'all do the work, right? And the rest are really about learning experience. I'm still learning. I'm still collecting data. I'm still trying to work that muscle to figure out what exactly my audience wants. That way the algorithm can push it out to them. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the burnout, because I have to be honest. One of my friends who's also a YouTuber, we actually talk on a weekly basis, and she was like, girl, how are you still going? This is insane. And I told her that I was gonna go until day 200. But I can be honest with you guys, right before I went on my 2-week vacation for my 45th birthday, I started to feel it. This was around 130, 140 days. I felt it. I was like, uh-oh. Am I going to make it to 200 days? I'm not feeling burnout because of the lack of ideas. I have so many ideas. I've been a full-time content creator since 2020, but I've been creating content part-time since around 2015. So I've been doing this a very long time. I do not run out of ideas, and I'm never stressed about, oh my gosh, what am I going to create? I think for me, the burnout is coming from not seeing the results. Because when you're putting so much effort into your content, the ideation, the scripting, the filming, the editing, and you're getting still 30, 40 views on your videos, you start to question. I know by being in this game for this long, my content is good. I don't think my content is terrible. I really don't feel like it's my content. I really feel like, there's other things going on in the back end that I cannot see and that is outside of my control. So, I think for me, I'll post a video that I'm super, super proud of, and it's discouraging when that video gets 40 views. Like for instance, yesterday's video. I thought yesterday's video was great. I woke up and it's at 20 views. I'm like, what's going on? Granted, it's a holiday weekend. I'm like, come on, like what is going on? And meanwhile, I'm watching other creators, and I'm not one to compare ever. That's the thing about me is I've always been the thought leader. I've always been the person that walked to the beat of my own drum. But I do see these videos pop across my feed, which I normally never scroll. But when I do see these videos, like I monetized in 2 weeks, or it took me 10 days to monetize, I'm like, how do they do it? But I do understand that some people get lucky. They have that one viral video and they get all their watch hours from that one video. And that's what I'm seeing a lot of creators being able to capitalize on. And that's great, because I'm super happy for them. Hasn't worked for me, but I'm super happy for them. But like I mentioned, if you are on this journey and you are going to embark on this journey, I just want to give you a heads up that it is very exhausting, and everyone's journey is going to look different. When I started this journey, I was following another creator who mentioned this is how she grew, and I didn't want to think that I would have the same journey as her. So I already prepared myself mentally, and sure enough, I didn't. I wasn't able to monetize in the 100 days. However, I am pretty close. I'm about 500 watch hours from the first tier of monetization, the 3,000 tier, and then another 1,500 from the 4,000. That is not a lot. And I know that it's going to take maybe another 2 or maybe 3 or less breakout videos in order to hit that. That is not a lot of videos considering what I've already completed. But again, because I don't know the algorithm, what it's thinking, what it's doing behind the scenes, you just never know. And so the path is going to look different for everyone. And I've really, to be honest, I've accepted that. So with that being said, here are some of the things that I've learned. And I'm going to start with the thumbnails. Honestly, I tested everything. So when I first started with this challenge, I had a graphic designer, and that graphic designer was designing my thumbnails, had been designing my thumbnails for over a year. Very great. He literally hit the 90 plus score on my thumbnails consistently, out the park. I started to replicate his design a little bit. And then I realized, you know what, that's not going to work. Let me kind of come up with my own thing. And that worked. The moment I redecorated my environment and I came up with this just simple design, man, I was hitting the SEO score 90 plus out the park every single day. And then this happened. Of course, I always get in my head and I'm like, let me switch things up. Let me try AI, because a few of my friends, actually 2 of them, were telling me that they were using ChatGPT to create their thumbnails. The moment I did that for the first 5 days, I noticed all my video views tanked. And in my opinion, those thumbnails looked better. They did. They were clean. They were crisp. They looked great. But what happened was my brand personality, my brand voice, what people were used to seeing changed. So I started to use my brand colors, whereas my former videos, I didn't really put my brand colors in there. My thumbnails were pretty much white. They were very basic. And I realized that don't change what doesn't need to be fixed. But I think that one change, and this was right before I went on my birthday trip, everything tanked. Prior to that, I was consistently hitting at least 1 outlier video per week. Things were moving in the right direction. And that one change in thumbnails really shifted everything. And I know this because I tested it for about 5 days and I went back to my original thumbnail, and then I went on vacation and my content changed. So I didn't help myself out by changing so much when things were actually starting to work. And you know, that is something that I learned about thumbnails. If you have a thumbnail that works, stick with it. At least stick with it until you get monetized. That is the biggest mistake that I feel like I made too early. And don't overthink it, because honestly, just showing my face and just having a couple words on the screen, simple text, simple background that's blurred, that works for me. And figure out something that works for you. Maybe you're going to start out using AI, and if it does work for you, great. I know a few people that works for. For me, it didn't work. It actually tanked everything. So if you're stressing right now about your thumbnails, about creating the perfect thing, I want to tell you to stop and just keep it simple. Have you heard that saying, KISS? Keep it simple, stupid. Keep it as simple as possible to where a 5th grader, a 2nd grader can understand exactly what it means. All right, so what I would do differently. There are a few things that I would do completely differently. I attended VidCon and I attended a masterclass about YouTube, and I learned a lot from that masterclass. And let me tell you something. I would do this differently. If I was going to start over right now with the 100-day challenge, I would literally do my research. What I mean by that is I would look at the creators in my niche and I would see exactly what they're creating. I will look at the trending topics. I will look at the videos that are performing well, and I would try to replicate that for my own niche and my own content. Here's the thing. I would go and build an idea bank. I would have 100 plus ideas already ready to go for me that are proven data that is already working. Because what I did was I thought, I don't want to copy anyone else. I don't want my content looking like anyone else. I want to come up with my own ideas. I don't want to constantly have to be chasing trends, because that's what burns you out. I want to just do my own thing. And though I finally got to a place where I understand what my audience wants, it took a lot of trial and error, and it took a lot of time. Had I had gone into this where I actually did some research up front and I figured out at least the niches or the topics that are performing well within my niche, I probably would have skipped a lot of that trial and error. I intentionally did not scroll and look at other people's content. I thought if anything that would discourage me, and that would create comparison, and that would create overthinking. So Am I really mad that I went the way that I went? Not necessarily, but I don't think that it would have been bad if I would have done a little bit of research and just at least notated the type of topics that I should have started off with. But I could say this, when I first started on YouTube, I wasn't really thinking that I was going to be in this financial space. I started off showing people digital products and systems. And then as I began storytelling and everything started to evolve, that's when I organically found my niche and my topics. I realized, oh, I'm sharing everything about my journey, building income streams, building wealth, starting over at 44. I'm sharing about how I'm trying to pay off my debt. That became my content. So I do feel like when you just naturally show up and you're sharing your journey, your audience will start to show you what areas of your journey that they want more information on. And for me, that was, oh, we love learning about your investing. We love learning about you saving your money. We love learning about you paying off your debt. And that became my content. And I finally found my sweet spot. So I can say this, just show up and share, and eventually you will find your sweet spot. And if it works for you to do research first, then go ahead and do that. All right, so what is next for me? Well, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, I am going to just go ahead and finish what I started. I started to do a 100-day challenge. I completed that, but after that 100 days, I realized I still had some steam left in me. I was like, let's keep going. Let's do this thing. Let's go to 200. I'm going to probably stop around 200. I'm going to tell you that right now. So my goal is I have another 50 videos, another 50 days. That's nothing. I've already put in 150. What's 50 left, right? So I'm going to keep going, but I can tell you this. I'm definitely going to scale back once I hit that 200. My hope was that I can reach my watch hours, at least the first tier, before I reach the end of my 200 challenge. However, I am going to scale back, and I'm thinking that I'm going to be posting about 2 videos per week and see how that works. I don't know what days. I'm going to keep the times consistent, but it's definitely not going to be every day. I definitely think that I want my weekends back. I want to sleep in. I wake up every morning at 4:45 a.m. to do my morning walks. And then on the weekends, I'm waking up early to film content before everyone gets up. So it's been 150 days of me like never sleeping in past 6 a.m. and just completely just on the grind. So I definitely want to scale back, but then add other things. So one of the things that I am going to add is live streaming. I am a live streamer. That's really how I started to build a personal brand online, was Periscope. I don't know if you guys remember Periscope, but I built an online brand as a motivational speaker on Periscope by live streaming every single day. So I definitely want to start live streaming, showing up and just, building community, sharing, answering questions, and just hanging out with y'all. That's something that I want to do. And I know that I can build my watch hours as I do that as well. So in all of that, I'm not quitting, right? I'm going to finish what I started, but then I'm going to scale back because I'm going to be working smarter, not harder. And honestly, the goal was never to post one video every day forever. It wasn't. It was to post one video every day for 100 days. And then me being the overachiever that I am, I'm like, okay, let's go for 200. And now I'm definitely like, okay, you reached the goal you pay. Now it's time to kind of wheel it back in because I learned what I needed to learn. All right. Well, all in all, 150 days, 150 videos, over 2,000% increase in subscribers. I have over 100,000 views and a whole lot of lessons. Man, if you're thinking about starting a challenge similar to this, I just want to tell you this. This is going to be probably one of the greatest experiences that you will ever experience on YouTube. You're going to learn so much about yourself, so much about your style and how you want to show up for your community. You're going to learn about your audience. You're going to learn about content. You're going to find your rhythm. But I'm going to tell you, it's going to be difficult. You're going to have some challenges. So just brace yourself and really mentally prepare yourself for this. And don't give up, because at the end of the day, the algorithm doesn't owe us a thing. It doesn't owe us a thing. And that's the thing that I constantly have to remind myself is if I keep showing up, if I keep being consistent, eventually things are going to work out. It may not be on my time, but it's going to be on the right time for my audience and what they want to receive from my content. So you have to keep pivoting. You have to keep adjusting. You have to keep, seeing what's going to work and what's not going to work and tweak it, because that's the name of the game. You have to really test. And it's all about testing, right? It's all about data and getting and gathering as many data points as possible in order to point you in the right direction. So I'm still on my journey. I have not ended yet, but I'm so close to the finish line. And I can say that I have no regrets. I can finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. And it's been an incredible experience. And I'm happy that I did this because I told myself that I was going to do YouTube full time this year and I was going to get monetized. And I'm keeping that promise to myself. It shall happen. So I'm excited to see where I land. And if you are on a similar journey, go ahead and drop it in the comments. Tell me exactly where you are in your journey right now. Let's go ahead and share and support one another because I want to hear from you. And if you are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Dupe Alaru. This was your Daily Dose with Dupe. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to subscribe so you can come back and join us again. Until next time, I wish you all a beautiful and blessed day.